Oh,
He
yeah.
does a little line like
The
that.
great Satchmo, Louis B. Armstrong. What a great song it was. It is.
And will always be.
It will always be
Those are the
indeed.
classics, my friend.
That's right. Did you have a good weekend, buddy?
Hey, if I'm tired on Monday, it was a good weekend, Harris.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Today was definitely surface of the sun hot.
Oh, my God.
97 degrees is what I recorded at one stage of the day, and it felt more like 110, 120.
Really
It was
hot?
just warm. You know, the sun was brutal today.
Well, before we get on to how brutal it was, because I know what you're going to say, we were 7 inches away from the sun. And I'm not going to trouble you there. You know, you do you.
It felt like it, let me tell you.
But you got to give kudos. It rained on Saturday.
Oh, my God. Thank you for a reminder.
Yeah.
What a beautiful Saturday it was.
It was, yeah.
It did start coming
glad
down,
you liked it.
you know, early, mid-morning, and it seemed to go all day. I wish it went all day, but it was glorious. I mean, there were some flood warnings posted up by the government. I understand there was some chaos, maybe down by the airport or whatnot. The roads did kind of flood relatively quickly in those low-lying areas. But what a glorious rain that came down. If I was a tree or a flower or the grass.
Or just Austin.
Or just Austin, you could hear them saying, hallelujah, Lord.
Hallelujah.
Thank you, Jesus.
Praise
Thank you,
the Lord.
Jesus. Praise the Lord.
Hey, well,
it was a wonderful rain
I'll give you a
Saturday.
recap of me on Saturday.
Okay.
This is me working. And then the rain starts. I'm like, I'm looking for hope. I look over to the southeast. I said, no, I see a clearing there. I don't think this is going to last very long.
Wishful thinking, huh?
Yeah. But a half an hour later, it's just pouring down. I'm looking and saying, so you've taken Austin's side in this thing, haven't you?
It was God saying to you, Solomon, you need
a
day
break.
of rest.
I just said
Go
it.
back inside.
And I replied, so you're taking Austin's side on this.
And he said, yes, I am. He's been praying fervently
For me to get
some
some
rain.
rest.
And I had to listen to his supplication. So thank you, Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah, Saturday was a glorious rainfall.
It was a great day.
It was nice to see.
And it rained in East End, by the way. It did rain in East End.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
You know, what was that song that it seems like it's raining all over the world?
Uh-huh.
You remember that? I can't remember the words, but it's coming to me. Rainy nights in Georgia or something, right?
Rainy nights in Georgia.
Seems like it's raining all over the world.
Isn't that a Ray Charles song?
Something like that.
So we're going to have to look it up and find out.
Yeah, we'll have to get that one.
Well,
But yes,
we enjoyed the rain on
it was
Saturday,
great.
and the weather forecast seems to suggest that we might see some rain tomorrow.
He's holding out so much hope.
Partly cloudy skies are expected on Tuesday, becoming cloudier with an increased chance in showers as a tropical wave is expected to make its way across the islands. I am reluctant to tell you what the forecast calls for tonight, but I'm going to tell you just because it's there. The National Weather Service forecasts thunderstorms this evening, and this would be this would be the third time I have made this forecast for thunderstorms. Let's see if the third time is the charm and we actually get it. Temperatures expected to drop to a low of 81 degrees. Winds will be out of the east to southeast at 10 to 15 knots, and seas will be slight with wave heights of 1 to 3 feet. That's what I was noticing also over the weekend, in addition to the rain, and I was pleased to see it continued on to today, was the state of the seas. It was just dead calm, almost completely flat. You'd be pleased to know I took my mineral bath on the weekend. So I went out to the beach on Sunday. Not only was it dead calm,
This is getting exciting.
but the clarity, the water clarity was just incredible. The visibility, regardless of how deep I went, and I did kind of go out into the black stuff where I knew there was turtle grass or something going on below me, and I could tell because I could actually see the bottom. It was just glorious. It was a beautiful day for beach weather over the weekend, and yes, I got my proverbial soak, and I think that too may have lent itself to my otherwise speedy recovery.
Big log wood floating.
I do feel like a better person already today.
Yeah, nothing beats that good salt water.
No, you're absolutely right.
The older
Now-
you can get it, the better it is.
And now every time I go, I think of you. So Ellio says, You know, saltwater's got every mineral,
Every mineral known to man.
every mineral known to man you can find in salt water.
And then you just close your eyes, meditate, and say, suck it in us. Suck it in us.
Suck it in.
You can actually swallow a little mouthful,
Terrific. Well, I just got
that
indication that our special guest coming up at 5 o'clock.
I love special guests.
Why don't you tell the listening audience what we have planned for them at 5 o'clock?
Oh, man, I got to tell you, 5 o'clock. I mean, it's going to be better for us than it's going to be for you, because you'll be either listening or watching and listening.
Without a doubt.
But we will have, like, two of the world's most beautiful ladies in here, and it's not models, although they could be models. It's from Cayman Finance.
Right.
So we're going to be chatting with two lovely representatives of Cayman Finance. They just happen to be beautiful. That's all. I just wanted to harp on that. But they are from Cayman Finance, the organization. Been around for a couple of years now, representing the Cayman Islands as it relates to financial services, a very important industry here in the Cayman Islands.
Yes.
And they're going to come in and chat with us for at least an hour. Unless it goes really well, it might drag them all the way until 6:30.
Maybe.
But it's going to be a good chat, learning again all about the Cayman Finance, what the organization is all about, what are some of the initiatives they're involved with, how is it helping Cayman, how is it helping Caymanians. And it's going to be a good discussion. So I want to encourage you to tune in. And, of course, sharing is caring, so tell a friend.
Absolutely. We're also going to chat about their new graduate training program, which lends itself to preparing Cayman's financial professionals of the future. As my colleague stated, Cayman Finance will be joining us in studios following the 5 o'clock top of the hour news. So stick around. You don't want to miss that. But yeah, buddy, whilst the listening audience will enjoy it, we're definitely getting the better end of the deal.
Yeah, you're right about that.
By spending time with these lovely ladies. So in the good news category, we got to send a big shout out, belated shout out, but shout out nonetheless, to all of our Jamaican brothers and sisters across the Cayman Islands. Jamaica turned out in mass on Friday to celebrate their Independence Day celebrations. There was a sea of black, green, and gold at the Compass Green for an event that took place there on Friday night. Friday's event marked the introduction of Britain's Slavery Abolition Act, which came into force on 1st of August, 1834. And, of course, the 63rd Independence Day was being celebrated then, but it is officially celebrated in Jamaica on the annual calendar, the date of 6th of August. Caymanians, of course, as many people will remember, Cayman was at one time administered by Jamaica back in colonial times up until 1962, when Jamaica opted to go independent, to walk its own road. Cayman decided that wasn't for us, and we decided to maintain our relationship with the Crown. However, the two countries have always maintained close cultural ties, historical ties, and I dare say friendships that date far, far, far back. So a great big heartfelt congratulations and happy Independence Day again to all our Jamaican brothers and sisters who either celebrated on the weekend or will continue to celebrate as the week continues. The Compass Green was also the venue for a gospel concert that was held on Saturday night, featuring top singers, including Miss Joan Flemings and Alex Souls. Then on Sunday, the Jamaican consulate in Cayman organized a special church service of Thanksgiving, which was held at St. George's Anglican Church in Georgetown. So it was a weekend of festivities for our Jamaican brothers and sisters here in Cayman, and I suspect across the wider Caribbean, because Jamaicans have populated, I think, every corner of the globe.
Yeah.
So
Jamaican diaspora all over.
All
the guy said, I was in Alaska, and then I heard, Wagwan.
Reggie.
All the way up here in Alaska?
All the way up here. The cold, really, man. We adapt, we overcome. Zin.
Remember the bobsled team from Jamaica?
I would never forget them. They're the best. Love them.
Hey, by the way, a little FYI for you. I actually had a lady that worked with me who was an independent baby. Born on August the 6th, 1962.
Oh, wow.
I can't give too much more information. Didn't get permission, but initials VMC.
VMC.
VMC. Right. And she worked along with me. Amazing. She was an independent baby from Jamaica.
Well, then happy 63rd birthday.
There you go.
There you go. So continue with the good news, away from the festivities of the dancing and the eating and the, just overall having a good time, to sports. Cayman golf prodigy Justin Hastings earned his first professional paycheck of his career in Canada this past weekend. The 21-year-old, who played as an amateur in 3 major championships this year, began his long and challenging journey of qualifying for the PGA Tour in Ottawa. Hastings made the cut at the Commissioner's Ottawa Open on the PGA Americas Tour, the first tier of professional golf in the region. Making the step up from college star to the professional arena, Hastings was relatively pleased with the way he played. He played his best golf on the opening days to make the halfway cut and record his first points in the Fortnite Cup standings. However, he was less than happy with his performance on the final 2 days and ultimately finished 9 under par to place 72nd in a field of over 150 competitors. He will compete again, though, in Toronto this week and will continue to play over the next 7 weeks in Canada in a bid to earn points to move up to the Corn Ferry Tour or regain status for the PGA Americas Tour. So we just want to continue to send our shout-outs and prayers for goodwill and good wishes and for much success on the golfing greens of Canada to our fellow Mr. Justin Hastings, who, again, at just 21 years old, representing himself, his family, and, of course, these are Cayman Islands where he goes.
I was going to say, we just even on this program have talked about him a lot. It's definitely making some waves.
He did. He is, and we're proud of him. He's doing very good. Another sportsman who claims Cayman as his home is Kyffin Simpson.
Mm-hmm.
This is the IndyCar driver who achieved a career-defining milestone at just 20 years old. The Caymanian Barbadian driver celebrated his first NTT IndyCar Series podium finish at the Ontario Honda Dealers Indy in Toronto. I don't know what it is with Canada, but Canada seems to be attracting all of our boys. And they're also finishing very strong. Driving his number 8 Journey Rewards Chip Racing Honda, he delivered a stellar performance that saw him climb an incredible 10 positions from his 13th place starting grid to secure 3rd place and ending up on the podium and sharing in the accolades that go with it.
Amazing. I got to get on for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, it was great.
This monumental achievement marked his best result in 30 career starts and earned him the coveted award for most positions gained in a single race. Simpson's next race on the calendar will take place at the Grand Prix of Portland, set to take place on August 10th at the Portland International Raceway. So, again, to Kyffin Simpson, who, again, flies the flag for Cayman and Barbados, making waves of his own in the IndyCar series. And I just want to say, as it relates to Indy, I saw a terrific movie last week.
As it relates to India or India?
As it relates to Indy, not last weekend, the weekend before, which is probably where I caught this cold. Who knows? But I went to see the new Apple movie F1 with Brad Pitt. And wow, what a great movie. It's a movie obviously based on IndyCar driving. But one of the first thoughts that immediately sprang to mind, you talk about people who just never appear to get old. Brad Pitt must be knocking on 60, 61.
Right.
But the dude looks, as fresh and bright and as young as he ever did when he first graced the stage. I think he and Tom Cruise are on similar vitamins because
whatever it
is working for both of them. Tom Cruise.
They're on that Millionaire Johnson program or something.
Well,
the one that's working for longevity there.
Maybe those billions have a way of keeping you young. I don't know.
All kinds of special creams.
Yeah. Something.
Surgeries you can't afford, Austin.
Maybe
but it has something to do with it.
It could just be the youthful glow of
That's what you were hoping.
Looking at your bank account and watching it have 7 zeros and then go, now that I like. I feel young, warm, and fuzzy all over. That'll do it for me. It would. It certainly would. So if you have a chance, check out F1. I think it's no longer in theaters, but it is an Apple movie. So at some point in time, it'll make its way to Apple TV. It's an Apple original. Interesting, though, because it was an Apple original, you would have thought it would have been an Apple almost immediately. But I guess because of
I have no
the
idea
movie,
I have no idea what it is.
Quality of the stars.
Educate us. What is that supposed to be? Apple.
Apple.
Yeah.
The Apple, the computer makers.
Yeah.
Well, they now have a little device, that like a cable box, but smaller. So they have Apple TV. So it's like Netflix.
Oh.
So they're doing Apple TV. They make movies, their own shows, but they also, buy and carry other movies from different artists and genres. And they're doing very well. I know Apple TV is huge in Cayman, rather big.
Oh, okay.
Bigly. Rather bigly.
See, it's not in my house, Austin.
Not in your house, but it will.
I got Samsung.
There you go, Samsung. We're gonna get you C3 TV. That's what you need. What
What are you saying? Sorry, what are you gonna get me?
I'm gonna get you C3 TV.
What's that for Christmas?
Could be for Christmas,
or it could be before.
It could be a good stocking stuffer for you, buddy. Never know. You never know. I think you've been good this 2025.
Been a good boy?
It won't be a lump of coal, I promise. It'll be something nice.
Oh, I'm glad I finally made it off the naughty list.
Well, I don't know if you made it off the naughty list, but, you made it off on the, he's kind of okay. He's the gray list. That's what it is. It's not the red list. It's the gray list.
It depends on who you ask, Austin.
Quite right. Quite right.
I can think of at least one person right now, if you ask him, I'm very much on the naughty list. Nothing for you for Christmas.
Nothing for you. I never knew my father.
I never knew my father.
So that covers it for the good news for today. As always, we try to, begin each show with a little bit of good news, something to, put a smile on people's face before we get into some of the more serious conversations. At 52 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock, a good time to remind those listeners who may have just tuned in, joining us at 5 o'clock, as my colleague so ably reminded you earlier, Cayman Finance will be in our studios, and we will talk a little bit about their aims, their objectives, some of the goals of the organization, but also about their graduate training program, which really lends itself to preparing some of Cayman financial professionals of the future by providing them the same sort of solid financial foundation that they're going to need and they would face in their daily career. So we have two lovely ladies expected to join us in studios, Miss Danielle Hennings and Miss Samantha Whitmer. Samantha, among her many accolades, you said, maybe not beauty queens. Well, actually, she was a beauty queen once upon a time.
Hey.
And now, of course, applying her craft with Cayman Finance. We're going to hear from both of those individuals as we seek to learn everything we were afraid to ask about Cayman Finance, but we need to know. That discussion coming up, give or take 7 minutes or so. So that's where we are.
All righty.
You have anything for us? Anything pressing that you wanted to share with our audience?
I will again take this opportunity to remind persons that also this week we'll be interviewing none other than our great friend, Jordan Rivers.
Yes, I forgot. That's this Wednesday.
On Wednesday. Yep.
Oh, fabuloso.
And then we've also got a booking for the following Wednesday, but, we won't tease that one out yet. We'll do that a little bit later on.
Excellent.
Towards the end of the week. But, yeah, Jordan Rivers will be joining us in the studio on Wednesday as well, which is a part of our Candidates Forum. And, again, we've already got another guest booked up for the Candidate Forum for the following Wednesday also. But join us for Jordan Rivers on Wednesday. That's going to be an interesting discussion. Do want to throw it as well that, again, those persons who are interested, let me see if I can find that ad, make sure I get it right. But persons who want to do something on the summer with their kids, you have an opportunity to participate in the FC International with the soccer. And the specifics of that is 1 week in August from the 11th to the 15th of August 2025 from 9 a.m. until about 1 p.m. Boys and girls ages 4 to 16. It's going to be taking place, the location at Marie Martin Primary School in Georgetown. And, of course, you register on the first day of camp. All participants must be registered. You get a T-shirt provided on the last day of the camp. Lunches will be provided. If you're interested in that, the number to call is 323-1993. That's 323-1993. give them a shout, see if you can sign up. And I did see something else being pushed out on this group here. Let me see if I can find it. Didn't actually have much chance to memorize any of this, but it might be something interesting. Miss Earth came in on as the Golden Touch. Come volunteer with Miss Earth. Join us for our greenhouse beautification project and help us refresh, clean, and revitalize our growing space. This is on Saturday, the 9th of August from 9 a.m. until 12 p.m. Again, that's August the 9th from 9 a.m. until 12 p.m. We're looking for helping hands to pull weeds, organize plant trays, clean surfaces and tools, add a little creative flair to the space. No experience needed. Just bring your energy and love for the earth. Again, that is Golden Touch, Saturday, August the 9th, 9 a.m. until 12 p.m. All righty.
Well, taking a look at your Monday traffic watch, if you are heading out to the eastern districts, in particular getting perhaps past or in the area of Lower Valley, you will expect delays today. According to some of our Straight Talk accident watchers, there's an accident right now in Lower Valley near the Wattlers Estate. Traffic going east is bumper to bumper, and the word being used to describe it is horrendous. Traffic is currently being redirected by the Royal Cayman Islands Police Traffic Unit through the back road that connects Wilty to Northwood. Obviously, the main road, as a result of that, is closed. And again, could not possibly happen at a worse time of day as commuters begin their trek home. They have to face, well, luckily they haven't faced too much traffic in the morning. That picks up again on the 26th of this month. But this time, if you are living in the eastern districts, anywhere past Lower Valley or in that area, you can expect delays this evening with a road accident. We don't have much details in terms of how many cars are involved, but certainly it's serious enough to cause the main road to be closed. And again, traffic is being redirected by the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service, who are on the scene, and vehicles are being routed through the back road that connects Wilty to Northwood. So that's going on right now on your roadways.
There's a positive there. You get more time to listen to us.
Well, you just stole the words from my lips. That's exactly where I was going.
There you go.
You can just nestle into your seat, make sure your seatbelt is securely fastened, and we will keep you company whilst you are stuck in traffic. And with a little luck, by the time we are finished entertaining and informing you, you will have made it out and will be on your way home, and it will be as if no time had passed at all. So there you have it. That is our traffic update, but also what is coming up next with our guests, Cayman Finance, here on the program. In the meantime, the phone lines, of course, will be open throughout the day. The number to call is 745-2626 is the number in studios. If talking isn't your thing, you can reach out to us on our WhatsApp line by dialing 928-2562. And from there, you can send us a traditional WhatsApp text message or a traditional SMS text message to the same number. Or you can get creative and send us a WhatsApp audio note. Either way, all calls and comments shared to the program will be aired live whilst we are still on the air. We have to pause at 59 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock, check in with the BBC. But there'll be more Straight Talk in Cayman Finance coming up next.
Bobo. How can we understand the world better?
The BBC World Service is a window onto the wider world.
A vantage point from which to survey a new horizon.
News, reports, and analysis from around the world.
Stories we think matter.
Different people from different societies.
We get to the heart of global issues.
News, stories, and global perspectives from the BBC World Service.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM. The BBC is the world's most trusted news source. And Bobo 103.1 is where you'll find the BBC World Service.
BBC News, the world news from the BBC.
And the home of Cayman's most listened to talk shows.
That's right, folks. Everyone is telling their mama about the cold hard truth.
And welcome to Straight Talk. I'm your host, Austin Harris.
And I'm Ellio Solomon.
Across Cayman, on FM, online, and on your smart speaker. This is Bobo 103.1.
Welcome to our newsroom here in central London. We place ourselves here at a little desk right in the thick of things.
OS from the BBC.
We can catch the very latest news from our colleagues, not just in this enormous room, but also from our colleagues around the world.
I'm in the room where they're treating children.
This is a combat zone.
The situation after the typhoon is very complicated.
It was a very tense situation.
OS from the BBC.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM. This is Bobo 103.1, powered by Health Services Authority.
At Health Services Authority, they are committed to caring for you. They are Cayman's largest and longest standing healthcare provider, offering the most comprehensive range of inpatient, outpatient, and public health services at 9 different locations across all 3 islands.
Across Cayman on 103.1 FM, online, and on your smart speaker. The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo 103.1.
Hello, this is the BBC News with Fiona MacDonald. President Trump has threatened to substantially raise the recently imposed 25% tariff on Indian goods over its purchase of Russian oil. India has responded, saying it is being unjustly targeted and that it will take all necessary measures to safeguard its national interests. Here's Nomia Iqbal in Washington.
On his social media platform, the president accused India of selling Russian oil for big profits. He said they don't care how many people in Ukraine are being killed by the Russian war machine. India was hit with a 25% tariff last week, but the White House didn't say how much higher it would go. India has hit back. In a statement, a government spokesperson said India began importing from Russia due to traditional supplies being diverted to Europe after the war began, a move it says was actively encouraged by the US at the time.
Russia says it no longer considers itself bound by a moratorium on the deployment of land-based intermediate and short-range nuclear missiles. This comes amid further deterioration of the relations with the US. Our Europe regional editor Sasha Schlichter reports.
Russia announced the moratorium several years ago after the collapse of a landmark Cold War-era arms control treaty. Since then, it's been used as a lever, with mutterings in Moscow that it's time to have it scrapped. Last summer, President Putin even said Russia should resume production of intermediate and short-range nuclear missiles as a necessary response to U.S. behavior. Today, a foreign ministry statement claimed the U.S. and its allies were moving towards deploying such weapons in Europe and the Asia-Pacific region, so the conditions for maintaining the moratorium no longer applied.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he will update his military plan for Gaza later this week. Amid reports he wants to expand the offensive against Hamas and occupy the entire territory. Here's John Donnison in Jerusalem.
This morning, the Israeli media were being briefed by an anonymous Israeli official that the war could be expanded. A lot of people think that official was Prime Minister Netanyahu himself. And despite the concerns and the warnings from those 600 former Israeli security officials, including heads of the intelligence agencies, the Shin Bet, Mossad, a former prime minister, all of them warning that militarily there is nothing left to achieve in Gaza.
The Israeli government has voted unanimously to dismiss the Attorney General, a vocal critic of the Prime Minister. A statement said Gali Baharav Miara should not try to impose herself on a government that has no trust in her. The Israeli Supreme Court has issued an injunction blocking the dismissal, pending a fuller review. She is also the lead prosecutor in Mr. Netanyahu's corruption trial. BBC News. The governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, has ordered the arrest of more than 50 Democratic members of the state's House of Representatives who fled Texas in a bid to stop a vote on a new congressional map that would heavily favour Republicans. The plan, unveiled by Texas's majority Republicans last week, was backed by President Trump. More details from David Willis.
Greg Abbott has accused the Democratic members of abandoning their duty to the state and thereby forfeiting their seats in the state legislature. Texas lawmakers cannot pass bills without the presence of at least 2/3 of the members, and Governor Abbott has instructed local law enforcement to round them up and return them to the state. The missing Democrats maintain they are acting in the interests of democracy after President Trump's push to add 5 more Republican congressional seats in Texas before next year's midterm elections.
Tesla has granted its CEO Elon Musk $29 billion worth of new shares in an attempt to keep him at the firm. The electric car maker said no one matched Mr. Musk's combination of leadership experience and technical expertise. The move comes after a court struck down an earlier $50 billion pay package. Stella Remington, the first woman to head Britain's domestic intelligence service, has died at the age of 90. She ran MI5 from 1992 to 96, at a time of ongoing IRA threats and emerging dangers from Islamist extremists. Scientists say the remains of 46 animal species found in a cave in northern Norway represent the oldest known record of an Arctic animal community in Europe. They include polar bears, walruses and bowhead whales. Dating back over 10,000 years to a warmer period of the Ice Age, the discovery reveals how wildlife responded to past climate shifts. BBC News.
Views and opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of Stingray Media, its staff, or contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
And welcome back, man, to more Straight Talk here on Bobo 103.1 FM and simulcasting live over YouTube and Facebook under the key search word Straight Talk Radio Show. You can also find us streaming live on the ACT Cruise Tourism Facebook page as well. Just our way of making it easier for you to reach us wherever you are most comfortable. It is 7 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock in the studios, and as promised, what a treat we have in store today. Yes, mostly for us, but some of it is for you. We have the pleasure of the company of two fantastic, lovely Caymanian ladies in the studios. We have Miss Danielle Hennings and Miss Samantha Widmer, both from Cayman Finance, who are our guests in studios. And I just want to say good evening and welcome to you both.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening. To be here.
Good evening, indeed. So again, Ellio, I have you to thank for this. You were, I guess, conscious enough, interested enough to reach out to Cayman Finance to extend an olive branch to the organization, who, of course, gave us the opportunity to chat with these two lovely ladies. So why don't you kick it off for us in terms of the discussions that we're going to have tonight?
Well, he's giving me all the kudos, but he deserves some as well, because normally we can only host two people on this side. We need a third mic. He was able to pull that off, so I want to thank him for that as well. But ladies, again, thank you again for coming into the studio. Much appreciated. I think we'll kind of just focus initially from Danielle, but because I think you may have to leave a little bit early, right? Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit, for those persons who are just hearing us for the first time, hear about Cayman Finance, because we know about all the banks. We hear about the banks, but Cayman Finance is not necessarily an organization that everybody knows about. So tell us a little bit about the organization, Cayman Finance.
Sure, yeah, happy to. So Cayman Finance as an organization started back in 2003. So it's been around for a long time as the industry association, the representation for the financial services industry in Cayman.
That's 22 years already.
That's right, that's correct. And we're a public-private partnership, which I think is great. We receive funding from our members, which is the private sector. So these are the firms that are servicing the industry and the clients all around the world. But we also receive funding from the Ministry of Financial Services, which obviously has a vested interest in the industry continuing to be a success and, kind of the global powerhouse that it is.
How many different banks, accounting firms, actually represent our members right now?
We have over 100 members.
Over 100?
Cayman Finance, that's right.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. So tell us about, the various community engagement that Cayman Financing gets involved with.
For sure. So we have a number of initiatives that we do. I guess the longest standing, as far as I'm aware, is our LEAD program, which actually started back in 2015. So 10 years ago, it didn't run for 10 years consecutively. There was a bit of a pause due to COVID. But this particular initiative is geared at high school students that are in their second to last or their last year of high school. And the whole purpose is to introduce them to the industry and the opportunities within it. So it's a partnership between Cayman Finance, the Ministry of Education, and the Ministry of Financial Services to educate the high schoolers on what is financial services, what are some of the opportunities, the career opportunities outside of those that are most well known, which would, to become an accountant or to become a lawyer, for example, but just kind of showing the breadth. What are the different sectors? What do they do in the trust sector? What is captive insurance, right? It's really like you don't know. They don't know as high schoolers, right? I remember growing up, we learned about our pillars being banking and tourism, but to deep dive into what banking is kind of on a global scale in terms of financial services, that's an opportunity that we present them with. The program itself it runs throughout the months of May and June, where once a week the students, they attend a workshop for 1 hour a week. At the same time, they're paired with a mentor. So this is an individual who works in the industry and wants to give their time to mentor and to meet somebody and introduce them to what the opportunities could be. If they successfully complete that part of the program, they have an opportunity to do a 4-week paid work placement at one of our members. So these are high schoolers, they're 16 or 17, and they're getting in many cases, their first time in an office environment and really getting that exposure quite early on. So like I said, program started in 2015. Can't take any credit for its beginnings, but really, really something that we are proud of.
Definitely playing a role in keeping it going. First of all, hearing you talk about that in terms of getting young persons involved reminds me that I had a little spate in the financial services industry as well. So when I was in high school, I had about a week or two that I did the internship at Roy West Trust. It used to be over Royal Bank in town.
Okay.
But tell us a little bit. This is a good opportunity for you to tell us a little bit about yourself, Danielle.
Sure.
And how you actually got involved with Cayman Finance.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for asking. So born and raised here in Cayman. I grew up, lived here my whole life.
Love that accent. I'm hearing it all the way from over here. Love it.
After Ivan, we kind of went away for a year to studied in the States, and then came back home, and I finished out my education here. Worked really hard, studied hard, and I received a scholarship from Deloitte to study accounting. So I went abroad. I went to Penn State University, where I got my bachelor's and master's degrees in accounting, an opportunity I wouldn't have been afforded without their support. So even though I've left the firm, left Deloitte, I'm really, I'm grateful for the sponsorship, the scholarship, and just the support I received in terms of kicking off my career. I returned home and I worked for the firm for almost 7 years before joining the team at Cayman Finance. My title is Associate Director, heading up our community engagement efforts, and it's as rewarding as you can imagine. It could be, what I get to focus on is how we as Cayman Finance, we as a financial services industry can continue to have a positive impact on our community, right? Because it's all good to say, we want more business or, continue to promote the Cayman Islands as a jurisdiction, as we should, but the industry was started for the benefit of the Caymanian people. Yeah. That was the whole reason that it was created, right? And so if that's not what we're continuing to do as an industry or as an organization, then we're not fulfilling the original purpose in terms of creating, the jobs, the revenue that then comes into the government, and just our way of life here in Cayman is largely influenced by, of course, the funds that the industry brings in. So really, really happy to be a part of this team. It's been almost 2 years now, and yeah, dream job.
All right. Well, Penn State, that would make you a Nittany Lion,
That's
wouldn't it?
Right.
There you go, the mascot of Penn State University. Well, talking about programs, Cayman Finance also hosts a really exciting program called the Graduate Training Program. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, really happy to. So this is a new program, actually, that we've just launched recruitment just over a week ago.
So you have had a hand in creating that one.
Yes,
awesome.
That's right.
All right.
And so this program is geared at university graduates. So young people returning home, maybe graduating locally with a bachelor's degree, and don't have that first opportunity, that first foot in the door, right? They're like, I can do the work, but I don't have 3 years experience yet, right? Because, I mean, you guys were around during election season. And even before then, I had been hearing, going out into the community or attending career fairs that, the kids are coming home or the graduates are coming home and they're not finding jobs. Right. And, why are we setting them up in that way, right? And so at Cayman Finance, we were thinking, well, what can we do? What can our members do to support? What can we do, right? Because I said we have over 100 members, but how many do you think you could name of those 100 members that are recognizable to you, that as like a brand, right?
Very good point.
Yeah, so maybe 15, maybe 20, but we have plenty other members who need people to work for them too. They need local hires, they need local talent, but they might not have the awareness, for example, of what some of those opportunities could be. It's also the level of support it takes to kind of bring on somebody straight out of university versus somebody with 3 years. You can think as an employer, which one's more attractive? So we said, what can we do to make it more attractive for our employers, and also to help with the problem of recent grads not finding jobs? We said, okay, well, let's create our graduate training program. Let's go out to the membership. Let's see who would be willing to create an entry-level opportunity for a university graduate. Let's see if we can pool the candidates, get as many kind of qualified Caymanians who have a desire and a willingness to work in the industry to apply for the program. We set them up with a couple of days of orientation. That's how we're going to kick it off. And then we bring them back for weekly trainings for 11 weeks or so, just to help facilitate that kind of classroom or cohort environment, one I got to enjoy and experience when I started at Deloitte. It was a big class of new hires who started together. A team of 10 can't really facilitate that. Even a team of 25, that would be quite challenging. So we said, what if we could create this environment that would be positive for both the recent graduate as well as for the employer, and offer them some support, and hopefully attracting and retaining some local talent. So it's a pilot, we really want it to be successful. Again, we're all really passionate about seeing it succeed. And so we're doing what we can to spread the word, to encourage young people to apply for the program. Or if you're not the young person listening, if you know somebody who might be eligible, who you think might be a good fit, we would love for them to apply.
Tell us, for those persons who are either planning on going off to university or those coming back, what should be the process? I guess start with the ones who are already there. What could be a good process for them to go through in terms of getting into the financial service?
Oh, yeah. Super great question. Definitely internships, like summer internship opportunities, getting a part-time job or working during the summer, just showing that initiative that you have a willingness and a desire to work. But like if you are a first-year university student and you get an internship and you perform well, chances are you might be invited back, and then, there's your full-time employment offer. So there are a lot of internship opportunities, especially at I'd say our biggest members, right, that can, bring on 30 interns during the summer. I know the ministry, for example, Ministry of Financial Services, I want to say like 26 interns they had this summer, right? And that's something they're really proud of doing that. And it's just, we have hundreds of students studying overseas every year, right, on government scholarship. And we know this from the Scholarship Secretariat. Do we have that many opportunities for internships? Maybe not. Definitely not in financial services. But if you look across industries, across employment opportunities, there should be, right? Because if we want them to be successful and to be ready to work when they graduate, we need to give them the opportunity to learn, to maybe make some mistakes too.
I want to get you both involved in the conversation for just a minute. And I'm going to start by just asking Samantha, first of all, if she could introduce herself, tell us a little bit about her. And then I want to transition to ask the questions, particularly those persons who are maybe thinking about getting into the financial services industry. Is there a way to kind of go through a little checklist? Like, do you need more accountants? Is funds the way to go? Answer that for me as well. Maybe one or two, one or both of you. Sorry, Samantha, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I don't want to steal away from the star over here, Danielle.
Well, she's doing a sterling job.
Long time, yeah. So my name is Samantha Widmer. Also born and raised here in Cayman. I did go away to study accounting in Elon University in North Carolina. I also hold a Master's of Science in Sustainability. I'm a chartered accountant and a project management professional, so I've done quite a bit of studying in my life. I've also spent half of my career in Hong Kong. I just left there actually last year. So half of my career was in Cayman, and the last 8 years I spent living in Asia. So I really had this incredible opportunity as a young Caymanian, not only to work in Cayman in financial services, but also to go abroad and find out about the competitive landscape out there.
Right. How's your Chinese?
Ni hao, ni hao.
All right.
Okay, that works.
But I want to, I have to say that opportunity really was incredible for me. But then when the opportunity to come back and work at Cayman Finance came about, and I was speaking with Steve about, what he's looking at to do with Cayman Finance over the next 5 years, for me, it was like a no-brainer, come back to the island and help support this industry, which gives a lot to Cayman. We have a lot of amazing Caymanians that work there, and we are really passionate about what we do. Trust me, I live it and breathe it every day.
We can see it. We can see it and feel it. And we definitely want to get back on you, but I know we got to deal with our good friend Danielle over here. But tell us, again, for those persons right now, they're planning on going off to college or university, and they're thinking about getting into financial services. One of the things that comes to my mind, is there a way for them to kind of gauge, like, I kind of like it all, but where do I put a focus to kind of guarantee I get a job when I get back?
Well, I'd say there's always a great demand for accountants, and you heard both Samantha and I, that's our background, right? And it's just like we don't have the people to staff the industry locally. That's why we have people on work permits. We have people that come to work in Cayman as accountants in the industry because of like how critical it is to its success. And not everybody wants to be a qualified or a chartered accountant, right? That's a whole other level of study and determination that you have to go through. But I would say that it is like, it's a client facing role, right? Often. And so there's opportunity there. I'd say that's very well known. And for lawyers as well, like to become a lawyer. But I think what we try to focus on in our lead program is just kind of illuminate or give some ideas as to what other career paths are besides those two, because you might be in high school and say, I don't want to do either of those, but I could work in financial services. So if I think of people that I went to school with, for example, who didn't study either accounting or law, but they work in the industry, right? They might work in compliance, for example. They might work in corporate administration. They might have just taken a slightly different path, but they still have and will have successful careers. So there's no one way to do it, I think.
I just wanted to jump in there, particularly thinking of the young high school student who's just starting out, maybe ninth grade. So they got 4 years to figure out, what their direction will be. When we think of traditional financial services, it goes far beyond just accounting and banking. To your point, you mentioned law services. There's also insurance firms. All of these companies make up the larger pot that is financial services in the Cayman Islands, yes?
For sure, yeah.
How does it work in terms of Cayman Finance, in terms of accessibility? I mean, for those persons who might want to reach out to you, and is there a website?
Definitely.
Can they pick up the phone and just call someone and ask questions, get advice?
Yeah, definitely. So we do have a website which gets really great traffic, actually. It's caymanfinance.ky. If you want to learn a little bit more about our graduate training program, you can go on the website, caymanfinance.ky/graduate. We've also got information about all of us, like the whole team is on there. Our lead program is there. There'll be a contact us form, or you can email inquiries@caymanfinance.ky, and they'll generally try to kind of put your query or your request with the correct person.
When we talk about the graduate training program, what kind of training and mentorship will participants enjoy and get exposed to for those who register?
For sure. So we'll have an orientation retreat to begin with, a couple of days. We want to make sure that the first day on the job, our recent grads have the non-negotiables, or the things that the employers are looking for to show up and start strong on their first day. I think that's really important. Then the weekly trainings they'll come back for, it might be an introduction to the regulatory environment in the Cayman Islands, an introduction to anti-money laundering, but it could be presentation skills, your personal brand and soft skills, so things that aren't necessarily on-the-job training, because they're going to get a lot of on-the-job training. Your first job, that's when you're learning it all inside and out. So it's how can we support that maybe with some of the training that you're expected to know or to have, right? And if you haven't had the internship opportunities yet, maybe that's where we can offer some support.
And what about roles? Because again, there are a number of different positions, front office, back of the house, investment management. What are some of the roles that they'll be exposed to during this? It's a year. The training course lasts for, right?
That's right.
So it's a long time to really expose young people to a variety of departments and sectors across financial services.
Sure, for sure. So we've got job descriptions from each of our members who are participating, and some of the job titles are assistant administrator, junior account executive, audit trainee, graduate trainee, the most junior role you could imagine. But yes, there are some where it's you join the business and you kind of rotate. You go through some different departments and you get exposure and hopefully you get an idea, oh, well, I actually enjoyed my time here. Maybe at the end of the contract, if they'd be willing to keep me on, this is where I'd like to focus, right? Some exposure, some time in internal finance. Maybe we go on the client-facing side of things. So I think there's some really, really unique opportunities that our members have put together that we need some more applications. We need more apps to come in, more qualified Caymanians to apply for the opportunity so we can match them appropriately.
When you talk about qualified Caymanians applying, let's talk about that specifically. Sure. Who can apply to participate in the graduate program?
So Caymanian university graduates with a bachelor's degree or higher.
Okay.
So a bachelor's degree or higher of any field of study. We are not saying you have to have studied accounting or business or economics or finance. Those would be preferred subject areas. But if you haven't studied that and you have a willingness and a desire and a want to work in financial services, you'd be willing to learn the business, learn the industry, then apply. We've got some members that would say, regardless of your field of study, if you're willing to work, we're willing to train.
Awesome. What are some of the companies that are participating in the program? Maybe it's an opportunity to highlight and thank them for their participation.
Yes, happy to. So I had to write them all down. So we've got BDO, Catalyst, Conyers, Dentons, DM Financial, Global Captive Management, Greenlight Re, Grant Thornton Specialist Services, IQEQ, JTC, More Professional Services, Rawlinson and Hunter, RF Bank and Trust, Strategic Risk Solutions, Teneo, Trident Trust, and Willis Towers Watson.
Outstanding. We want to thank those local companies for participating in an insightful and in high demand program that, as it says, trains Cayman's financial professionals of the future. Now, we're running short on time, and I understand we may be losing you at the break. Just two final things to go. If an organization is listening and wants to get involved, is there still time for them to participate in the current cohort of classes?
Perhaps time is running out, and we're still recruiting. But I think we wouldn't turn another employer away, and we would do our best to find you a qualified candidate.
Awesome. Well, we have about 2 minutes remaining. I know, Danielle, you may be leaving us at the break. I want to thank you for being our guest in studios together with your colleague, Samantha. Samantha will stay with us after the break, but certainly an opportunity for some final and/or closing remarks on your behalf.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for having us in today. Really, really happy to come in and talk about the program, Cayman Finance in general, and what we're working on. And I guess I would just do a call, a plea to your listeners. If you know of somebody who you think could benefit from participating in a program like this, if you think it's a good opportunity, please tell them about it. Please share it. We're doing our best to promote in all the ways, all the avenues that you would expect, but nothing beats that one-on-one conversation and connection of saying, hey, I think this might be for you. Check it out. See what the requirements are. Are you a candidate? And if so, just encourage them to apply.
Indeed. And they say to teach is to repeat. So if you can, again, remind the listening audience, whether you're a student wanting to participate, whether you're a company hoping for a last-minute chance to be involved in this exciting program, how would they do so?
So you can check out to apply. You can go to caymanfinance.ky/graduate. And if you're interested in participating, you can email inquiries@caymanfinance.ky, and your email should find its way to me.
Daniela, I want to thank you. We both want to thank you very much for coming in the studio today and sharing with us all the great, exciting things you're doing at Cayman Finance, and especially looking after all of our young persons, getting them into the industry. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And it is 29 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock. And while Miss Danielle will be leaving us, Samantha Widmer will remain with us. Now, we've learned about the graduate training program, and we've got a little taste about what Cayman Finance is. But when we come back, we're going to do a bit of a deeper dive into the organization, who they are, what are some of the different areas that they're involved in, and why is it important for Cayman to have an organization like Cayman Finance. That part of the conversation continues next when we return right here only on Bobo 103.1 FM.
More Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio coming up. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Bobo 103.1.
Cayman, Units is here, the island's newest move-in and storage solution. Our robot delivery system allows you to put your unit almost anywhere while providing level loading, uploading, and minimizing shifting. What's even better, no time constraints. Pack at your own pace for moving or store as long as you need. Short-term or long-term, at the home or on the job site. Units, fast, safe, and secure. Check us out at units.ky and be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
At Polar Bear Air Conditioning, we believe in helping you to avoid costly mistakes and replacements. That's why we offer a quarterly maintenance program at a discounted price. You'll receive a 10% discount on all repairs, accessories, and services. Priority front-of-the-line customer status, reminders of your service, and no overtime rate for after-hours calls. Why not save money and avoid hassle with Polar Bear Air Conditioning? Need service now? Book our AC special for just $99. Book the next available technician at polarbear.ky. That's polarbear.ky.
We all work hard to one day buy the house of our dreams. Why wouldn't you protect it? With Saxon, you now have the option to get a home insurance quote online. Avoid the waiting in lines and the traffic. Simply log on to saxon.ky and click to get a quote to get started. At Saxon, we pride ourselves on providing our customers with excellent customer service and convenience. So what are you waiting for? Visit saxon.ky today from the comfort of your home or office to get your quote and protect the things you love. Saxon. Smart Insurance.
It's trivia every Wednesday from 7 o'clock at Sandbar on the Georgetown waterfront. Your chance to win some fantastic prizes in our free-to-enter Trivia Madness. Great offers on beer buckets, margaritas, and a delicious menu served throughout the evening. Grab your pals and get along to Sandbar every Wednesday from 7 o'clock for the most fun you can have with your clothes on. Are we ready?
Yes, Marty!
Then let's do this. Trivia, Sandbar, 7 o'clock, Wednesday. See you there.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
Have your engine driving like never before with Pure 93, the highest pure octane fuel in Cayman, and available exclusively at Rubis service stations. Pure 93 protects against engine knock, restores lost power and acceleration, cleans fuel injectors, intake valves, removes engine deposits, improves your fuel economy, and it meets international specification requirements for your car. Fill up with Pure 93 now and keep your engine running like new. Fuel the difference with Pure 93, available exclusively at Rubis.
Across Cayman on FM, online, and on your smart speaker. This is Bobo 103.1, powered by Health Services Authority, committed to caring for you. The views and opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of Stingray Media, its staff, or contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
And welcome back, Cayman, to more Straight Talk here on Bobo 103.1 FM and simulcasting live over YouTube and Facebook with the key search words Straight Talk Radio Show. You can also find us streaming live on the ACT Cruise Tourism Facebook page. We continue our conversation at 33 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock with Cayman Finance, albeit we're short one lovely lady, but we still have the very lovely and very knowledgeable Samantha Widmer as our guest in studios. And I just want to digress just for a moment, if I may. We've been swinging the club, if you will, for a number of Cayman golfers. Justin Hastings, in particular, competing in his PGA Tour over there in Ottawa. But amongst the list of accolades that Samantha provided at our introduction, I don't believe she mentioned her illustrious golfing career. You were also pretty wicked with a golf club as well, weren't you?
Yeah, still keeping it up too.
Outstanding. What's your handicap?
Keeping it low.
Keeping it low, very low. That's good. So she's no pushover, people. And again, she plays in financial services, but I dare say she keeps up with the boys very.
She's done a lot of things then. It's beauty contest, it's college, it's golf. What else you got?
Hong Kong, don't forget.
Hong Kong, yeah.
Speaks a little bit of Chinese.
Ni hao and see you.
Fullest, you know.
You are. I tell you what, as they say, more than just another pretty face.
Thank you.
So talk to us about Cayman Finance. When we think about Cayman Finance, first of all, we think about the Cayman Islands as a premier investment funds jurisdiction globally. Maybe for the benefit of the listening audience who perhaps aren't in financial service, what does that really mean?
Well, I think we talked earlier a little bit about just overall what Cayman Finance does, but I wanted to delve into the 5 strategic priorities that we focus on.
Yep.
So the first one is promotion, and that's where we promote the island for financial services globally.
Mm-hmm.
Second, we protect. We protect the Cayman Islands from a global perspective in the media, whether we're out there sharing information, we're writing positive articles. It's really important to protect this beautiful place that we call home and that we grew up in.
So it's like the reputational risk, people trying to make the Cayman Islands look bad.
Yeah, definitely.
Countering those things.
You know, when you do well in something, there's always going to be somebody out there trying to
haters.
take it down. So we always have to make sure we keep that strong, not only from protecting and making sure the news that comes out is really, it's right, but also making sure that we're putting positive information out there as well, because I think that's something that's been missing, you know, and now we have a really great content editor and PR team that work on that at Cayman Finance.
Indeed. If I recall correctly, I think we even spoke about it maybe a month or so, maybe more about it. Time flies when you're having a good time. But there was at least one individual in the insurance industry, for example, who was lobbying his politicians, again, against the Cayman Islands, suggesting we were doing something untoward
the
or
Bermuda
otherwise.
thing.
Exactly. So, again, it's these types of accusations or discussions that Cayman Finance steps in the gap, if you will.
We do, and we file press complaints, and we make sure that information that is online, especially from a digital perspective, is done properly and correctly. And we also respond to letters that come in from various news agencies that want clarification on things. So that would be point number 2. Number 3 is product development. So scanning the landscape and understanding from the various service providers and investors and, you know, various users of the Cayman Islands, what do you need in order to continue to innovate? What does the market need? Is Cayman keeping up to par on that and making sure that we stay on top as a financial services hub? The 4th one is member engagement. We have over 100 member firms. So I'd say it's probably close to 150 now, but we stay around 100 member firms. These are all the top service providers in the Cayman Islands, and we engage with them frequently on, and you'll probably see on my travels, I'm constantly engaging with our members both locally and globally, and the rest of our team in order to make sure that there are opportunities for them to engage with business professionals in order to drive new opportunities to the island and keep on top. And the last one is the community and engagement element, and that's what Danielle spoke to earlier. So all 5 of those strategic priorities is really it connects together to put forward our mission, which is to enhance the success of our members, our clients, and the community of the Cayman Islands.
When we talk about the investment funds industry, and again, as we talked about in the last segment, that's not just restricted to the traditional banking relationship, but you have law firms managing investment funds. You've got a number of products and financial vehicles that are available in insurance, also used for investment funds. How does the investment funds industry help Caymanians?
Well, I think first and foremost, I'll quickly define an investment fund because I think that is important for our listening audience just to understand what we're talking about here.
Sure.
So I put a definition down here. A big pool of money that's collected from many investors, managed by professionals who try to make a profit on it. And Cayman is really a hub for those investment funds because we have so many advantages here that make it possible for these investment funds to be registered and to be, very productive and do well for the industry. And so from a Caymanian standpoint, we need to think about, well, what kind of money does this generate for the island?
Right.
And currently, I looked at the stats in June from the Cayman Islands Monetary Authority. We have 30,700 registered funds.
Wow.
And that's gone up almost 700 funds since October. So if you look at those numbers, they're continuing to increase. And each fund that's registered here is bringing in almost $5,000 US in revenue for the island. So if you multiply that 5,000 by 30,700 funds, you're looking at over $135 million generated just for the
Good
island.
chunk of change.
And that's money that's directly helping our country. And I think that that's a really positive message to say that we're doing a great job to continue to increase those numbers, but also that money is able to directly impact the island. And I think that's something that we need to continue to see as a positive thing, because it is money that's generated in order to pay for other things that make Cayman great.
Yeah, and I think that's the great part, because I remember years ago when Austin and I were hosting the show back in the day, there was actually someone that called and said, financial services doesn't do anything for Cayman. I'm thinking, what is that? But it just shows you a lot of people aren't seeing it. So hearing you, that level of transparency of what you're talking about now, I think sends the message and shows that it does contribute.
It does. And I think the other thing I'll also add is the employment part of it. Financial services employs around 6,000 people, and 2/3 of that are Caymanian when you look at the stats.
Wow.
That's a big number. And
That
if
is
you
a
think
big
about the number of people in Cayman that are able to benefit from that, it's really an important number. And we want to continue to increase that number so that, our young Caymanians have opportunities, but every single Caymanian here has the opportunity to work in financial services. And that's part of the mission of Cayman Finance, is we want to give anyone who wants to have the opportunity to work in financial services that opportunity.
And hearing you saying that we've been growing, I mean, even again this year with relation to the funds, there's some person that felt that we weren't necessarily growing. So that's good news as well. And what do you think is the contributing factor to that?
I think if you look at what Cayman has to offer, we have a very politically stable environment here. And you look at what's going on around the world, it is important to consider, is political stability an important factor?
Right.
Yes, it is. And I'm not going to call out any of the other countries that I may want to mention, but, knowing that Cayman is in a place where what the regulations are going to be, that your money is going to be safe. It's in a very tax certain environment where you're not going to all of a sudden see that taxes are increased in some capacity, because in Cayman, we're tax neutral. We have tax certainty here. And I think that's an important aspect. We're not all of a sudden going to have a change in the tax rate because we don't tax, investors on, their investments here. That's done in their home country and for their home country to worry about. Where we see the revenue generation for Cayman is through the registration fee, and that's the benefit that we receive. We're a great hub for pooling investment funds, and I think we want to continue to stay that way. So we have to stay innovative, we have to stay on top, and we have to continue to make sure that this place, that Cayman, stays a politically stable place as well, so that people feel that sense of calmness, that sense of knowing that if they are going to choose Cayman as a jurisdiction for investment, that they know for a long period of time ahead, that they have that feeling of,
certainty and stability.
Correct.
Yeah. See, you're chatting a little bit in Chinese, ni hao and so on. So tell us, I understood that you went with my schoolmate, what was his name? Jean DaCosta.
Yes.
You went traveling. Tell us about that.
Yes. Well, I called Jean up and I said, how about a good old friend come over there to Asia, and we can work together on promoting financial services around the region. Jean sits in Singapore full time.
Okay.
He is the representative for the Cayman Islands, for the Cayman Islands government. And he said, yeah, great. I think that's a fantastic idea, Sam. I've lived in Asia. He's lived in Asia. So we put our heads together and we created a really robust plan for 4 weeks to travel around Asia and really just, sing the praises of Cayman, talk a little bit about some of the advantages that we have over there. Because really, when you look at markets like Japan, Hong Kong, and Singapore, there's a lot of opportunity there. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of opportunity for setting up new investment funds. They're all international financial hubs. So we need to make sure we have a stake in those locations.
I remember when I was elected, we did a little trip, and I remember definitely being in Hong Kong for a little while. But walk it through for the persons who are listening. I mean, what happens, right? What do you and Jean run around doing in terms of trying to attract business to come to Cayman?
So we normally have a few different aspects of what we focus on. The first one is attending events. So either both of us will speak or one of us will speak at a major event. I know Jean had the opportunity to speak on the international stage at the AMA event in Japan, where over 500 investment professionals attended, talking about why Cayman, why we are clearly the leader for investment funds.
Right.
70% of all the investment funds that are coming out of Japan are registered in the Cayman Islands. that's a big number. If you think about how big
That
the
is huge.
industry is. Yeah. And that industry is only going to continue to grow. So we not only have to maintain our level of where we're at when it comes to an investment funds number, but we also need to make sure that those competitors that also want a piece of that market, they're not, able to take it. We want to make sure that Cayman stays on top. I think in other markets such as Singapore and Hong Kong, you have local products there that are now picking up. And that's where, they're going to start looking at maybe doing something homegrown. So we want to make sure that Cayman's name is out there, especially from an institutional investor standpoint. We don't lose traction on making sure that these investment funds are being registered in the Cayman Islands. And that's my job. My job is to go out there and make sure that we're promoting this, we're protecting the island, and we're also finding and learning about innovative ways to continue to grow the industry so that we don't stay complacent. That's one very important thing that we cannot do. We have to continue to make sure we're advancing our industry so we stay on top.
Now, you mentioned Gene DaCosta a couple of times, and I think it's worthy to mention to the listening audience that he's more than just a schoolmate, but he is, in fact, the Cayman Islands government representative in Asia. We have an Asia office.
We do.
Now, when we talk about this recent Asia tour, I get the sense that when you talk about Singapore, Hong Kong, even Japan, for example, these are markets that the Cayman Islands financial services industry are trying to gain a foothold in. So another word for that would be emerging markets. But what are some of the key or traditional international markets that we have done business with or choose in particular to do business with the Cayman Islands?
Well, the United States has always been the number one for us because it has had a funds industry for a very long time and a lot of the institutional investors sit there. Another key market is the United Kingdom and Europe. We are seeing a lot of new funds coming through those countries and that region specifically. And so we continue to make our efforts and spend time in London as well. Hong Kong and Singapore actually are considered to be relatively mature markets for us, but we are starting to see the new emerging markets through China, through Malaysia, through India start to pick up and inquiries start to come in.
Right.
So it is important that not only do we continue our efforts to promote our strengths in those countries, but the countries that are near them as well, that they're learning from each other. We want to make sure that we keep that strong. I would say that a couple of other new emerging markets that have popped up where I will be spending some time are Brazil. We're starting to see a lot more of our Cayman service providers as well setting up offices there. The Middle East, quite a number of Cayman firms are going to be setting up there as well and have done already. So we're gonna be spending some time over there. One that's a little bit further away, Australia. Not sure I'll make it there this year, but we are seeing an uptick as well. And then also Canada. So, these are areas which maybe in the past haven't seen quite the number of investment funds that we may want to see. But I think as we make sure that we educate them on the opportunities that exist, not only making sure that we tell them why Cayman, but what they can do from an investment fund standpoint. I think that's the most important thing is we're there in region, we're speaking face to face, we're having the opportunities to meet the intermediaries, the onshore legal councils, the associations, the government, the regulators in order to make sure that we continue to advocate for the country.
Well, when you mentioned Brazil, I couldn't help but smile because we got a World Cup coming up next year. And I will say to all the Brazilians, Brasil mais uma vez, which in English means Brazil one more time. We're on the hunt for a 6th star. But when we talk about Cayman as a financial services center, we talk about, it being a leading, if not a premier jurisdiction. We're not the only, pardon the pun here, we're not the only pretty girl on the block. What is it that makes Cayman so special as a global financial hub for the rest of the world to do business here?
So a couple of key things. We have tax certainty. We have strong legislation. We have efficient regulation. We have been around for over 30 years, so we're the tried and trusted jurisdiction. And we have expertise, and that comes through our people. And I'm going to say this out loud. I do believe that of all the countries in the world, we really have this down pat. We really have these things all working collectively together to make sure that Cayman stays a powerhouse in the investment funds industry, and we're going to continue to stay that way. We have a fantastic leader now in office who is really, looking towards opportunities for the island. We have great opportunities for Caymanians. We are continuing to grow, the island when it comes to revenues for investment funds. There's a lot of opportunities to come, and we're really staying on the brink of that and making sure that we don't let go of these opportunities that are available.
When we talk about hedge funds, we hear a lot of things being tossed around in the public domain, but one probably keeps coming up, probably because it sounds so good. But is it true we have about 75% of the world's hedge funds registered in the Cayman Islands?
That's correct. And we also have 2/3 of the world's crypto funds here as well. So it's an attractive market.
Clearly.
But you talked about something very interesting, because you said, not becoming complacent. And when you have those high digits, I mean, it's very easy to happen. But how do you do that? And how are you trying to see what you can do to stay ahead and not necessarily be eaten up slowly by the competition?
Well, we do spend a lot of time with the government and with our regulator here, Cayman Islands Monetary Authority, just discussing with them on our feedback from each of the trips that we hear. And I think one of the big focuses is on technology.
Right.
What are we going to do from a technology perspective to continue to stay at the level that we need to be in order to...
Must be having some AI discussions right now.
AI, different technologies, making things more efficient, making things more cost effective.
Yeah.
These are all big queries that we continue to work on internally and advocate for, and make sure that we're giving the best product possible, but we're also making sure that we meet those FATF and OECD guidelines to make sure that the reputation of the Cayman Islands stays at the top as well, because we currently have the gold standard. And I think that's what separates us, is we've always been an incredible leader in this space when it comes to bringing out new regulations and abiding by the regulations so that we do stay on top. And I think we need to continue to just make sure that we're not complacent, and we're advancing in technologies as well, so that we stay online with, at least at minimum, what the world is needing in that space.
It's been very, positive, and I would dare say almost flowery, but let's also, I guess, look at the reality and talk about some of the threats, as well as opportunities that can exist, for the Cayman Islands, but more so forward-looking. One of the threats that we've been talking about at some time, and again, there's some in the legal fraternity that, they have varying levels of concern. In some, it's a major concern. Others suggest perhaps it's on the horizon, but something we have to keep our eye on. But, the changes, for example, to beneficial ownership, now include perhaps a broader network of individuals. Is that on the threat analysis for the Cayman Islands financial services industry? And if not, or if so, what are some of the other threats, maybe forward-looking into the next 5 years?
I think actually we've done a really good job from a beneficial ownership standpoint, just because a lot of the muster that came out around that amendment that took place last year was just confusion over what was going to happen. And I think that the Cayman Islands has done a great job through our regulator, through our government, through our service providers, in going out and kind of clarifying what those kinds of things mean for the investors and for the service providers that use the Cayman Islands. So I think in that case, we are seeing the world shift more to a transparent and more highly regulated industry when it comes to, from an investment fund standpoint. I think the big area that we need to be concerned about is talent. The Cayman Islands, and there's been a lot of talk recently in the news about opportunities for Caymanians, where we're going to see Cayman go in the next 5 or 10 years. We need to make sure that we have homegrown talent, and we need to also make sure that we're staying on top of what those talent needs are, because as AI starts to come in, as we do have technology advancements, as regulatory requirements come into play, we need to make sure that we're staying ahead of the game. And how do we do that for the industry? We have actually 16 associations that are part of Cayman Finance, and a lot of them are doing trainings to make sure that our local people are staying abreast on some of those regulatory changes that are happening.
You both mentioned AI for a minute. I just wanted to jump on that, because you use it in the context of being able to attract talent. Is there any concern or viewpoints within financial services that the introduction of AI in areas such as, algorithmic trading, credit scoring, fraud detection, regulatory compliance, that AI could very well potentially, like it is in many other industries, replace the individual human hands with technology?
I'd like to probably speak more from a Hong Kong perspective on this one, having lived there for 8 years.
Yes, please.
And working with clients that are trying to implement AI. They're trying to use AI to make things more efficient, more cost effective. But I think at the end of the day, there's still going to need to be specific human intervention when it comes to utilizing AI. So it's trying to make processes more efficient. It's trying to build, compliance in a way that, is less likely to go south if something bad happens. These are all things that we can utilize AI for. So I don't think it's as extreme as, yes, we're going to have jobs, or no, we're going to have jobs. We're just going to need to understand, how do we bring AI into the workplace, into the island, into our regulator and our government, and utilize it in the best way possible, because I think the human element will always still be there.
So no fear or worrying about the Terminator / Skynet AI taking over the world and being the end of all human life?
I hope not, but I use AI to, for various things in my job now, just to make things more efficient. And I think it's been really helpful for me, because I can get out to more people, I can answer more questions, I can get more, involved in the things that really make me a specialist in what I do. So I think, we can't be fearful of that.
Well, I have to thank my colleague. I mean, I'm always a little technology shy, and I was behind the 8 ball on AI, in particular, ChatGPT. I think I might be the only or the last remaining Caymanian, until you mentioned it to me, to actually try ChatGPT. And I take your point. It does make life a lot easier. Ellio, you wanted to jump in.
No, it's fine. You and I have the synergy going on. But I just wanted to take you back on things like beneficial ownership, because I think it's important for people to know that legal-wise, Cayman Finance plays a role in making those contributions as well, in terms of on legislation and what's going to go in there. Tell us a little bit about that, if you can.
Yeah, we do spend a lot of time on the road. I mean, our trips are really intentional. When I go, I have a purpose for them, and I have some key performance indicators that I need to meet for each trip, because it is an investment of time, energy, and money.
Correct.
And so when we do travel, a lot of the time I spend it with investors, hedge funds, various funds, onshore legal counsels, accounting firms, and just asking them, like, what do we need to do to make improvements to continue to make sure that Cayman stays on top. And there are consistent changes being made in other offshore jurisdictions as well, so we need to be mindful of that. And one of our roles is to gather that information and put it in a really robust document to be able to present to the government, to our regulator. Look, here's some key action points that we've learned on the road that would be helpful for you. How can we bring that now, potentially those changes to effect? How can we bring the level of what the requirement is out? Can we try to explain things a little bit clearer, because this region is not quite understanding what we're doing? We might lose business due to that. So I think we're just trying to make sure that we cover it not only from a promotional standpoint, but protecting, again, the island, and we're enhancing that product development.
Well, my colleague didn't spell it out, but basically he was talking about kind of doing a little SWOT analysis, right? You do your strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats pretty much in just about everything, right?
Yeah, when we were in Hong Kong recently, Jean and I brought 14 incredible professionals into one room in Hong Kong, and we did a survey with them. We took them through an hour-and-a-half strategy session of understanding what are the key markets in Asia, where could we win more business, why do you think we're not winning more business there, what do you need from us, what do you think some of the indicators are that mean success in this region? So we do that kind of work. A lot of it you don't see openly, and we can't spread it, openly on the market. But I think it's important that we're gathering that data and we're bringing it back home, and we're able to feed it to the right people.
And then when you talk about the issue of complacency, I imagine a key part of that would be looking at yourselves or ourselves from the competitor's perspective. Is there a little weak area there that we can move in? Is that happening?
Definitely. And, people change roles, right? You might have had somebody in their role for many years, and now we have somebody new, and that person is more of a specialist in something else. So we want to make sure that we're continuing to keep, the level of compliance high. We're making sure that we're offering the best product possible. And I think we need to continue to make sure that in the Cayman Islands, we stay the gold standard. I think for me, that is really where I continue to sell the island, of saying, look, if you want to use the Cayman Islands, you can't without a doubt go wrong, because from an institutional investor, and we're talking like $500 million funds all the way up to $2 billion funds, that's the way to go.
It is 59 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock, and we do have to pause. Great conversation, but we're going to ask you to stick around just a little while longer so we can cover all of the bases. We talk about, some of the threats, but they've also got to be opportunities for us ahead. I do see, from a threat analysis standpoint, the question of the growing offshore financial centers finding themselves in onshore locations. I want to talk about that when we come back. But it is 59 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock. We're going to pause, check in with the BBC News. But our conversation with Samantha Widmer and Cayman Finance continues when we come back here on Bobo FM.
Bobo.
How can we understand the world better?
The BBC World Service is a window onto the wider world.
A vantage point from which to survey a new horizon.
News, reports, and analysis from around the world.
Stories we think matter.
Different people from different societies.
We get to the heart of global issues.
News, stories, and global perspectives from the BBC World Service.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM.
The BBC is the world's most trusted news source.
And Bobo 103.1 is where you'll find the BBC World Service.
BBC News, the world news from the BBC.
And the home of Cayman's most listened to talk shows.
That's right, folks. Everyone is telling their mama about the cold hard truth.
And welcome to Straight Talk. I'm your host, Austin Harris.
And I'm Ellio Solomon.
Across Cayman.
On FM, online, and on your smart speaker.
This is Bobo 103.1.
Welcome to our newsroom here in central London. We place ourselves here at a little desk right in the thick of things.
OS from the BBC.
We can catch the very latest news from our colleagues, not just in this enormous room, but also from our colleagues around the world.
I'm in the room where they're treating children.
This is a combat zone.
The situation after the typhoon is very complicated.
It was a very tense situation.
OS from the BBC.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM. This is Bobo 103.1, powered by Health Services Authority.
At Health Services Authority, they are committed to caring for you. They are Cayman's largest and longest standing healthcare provider, offering the most comprehensive range of inpatient, outpatient, and public health services at 9 different locations across all 3 islands.
Across Cayman on 103.1 FM, online, and on your smart speaker. The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo 103.1.
Hello, this is the BBC News with Fiona MacDonald. President Trump has threatened to substantially raise the recently imposed 25% tariff on Indian goods over its purchase of Russian oil. Delhi has responded, saying targeting India is unjustified. Lisa Curtis served in the first Trump administration as a deputy assistant to the president.
India did not purchase much Russian oil before Russia's invasion of Ukraine. But in the last 3 years, India has really drastically increased its importation of Russian energy at discounted prices. So it's really trying to get a good deal. It's been good for the Indian economy. And I think during the Biden administration, they essentially turned a blind eye, or they thought it was okay for India to purchase Russian oil.
The governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, has ordered the arrest of more than 50 Democratic members of the state's House of Representatives who fled Texas in a bid to stop a vote on a new congressional map that would heavily favour Republicans. The plan to redraw electoral boundaries, unveiled by Texas's majority Republicans last week, would create 5 new Republican-leaning seats in the House. The Republican state representative's Brian Harrison has criticised his own leadership for the impasse.
Our House leadership has the full authority to require every member stay at the House. He chose not to do that. He adjourned us after only 7 minutes. So quite frankly, this is an abject failure of the Republican leadership of the state of Texas. And what I'm looking for right now is not bold rhetoric coming out of the Austin Republicans, but bold action. These Democrats need to be arrested. They need to be brought back to D.C., and they need to have all kinds of other punishments. Their committees.
Russia says it no longer considers itself bound by a moratorium on the deployment of land-based intermediate and short-range nuclear missiles. A Foreign Ministry statement claimed the US and its allies were moving towards the deployment of such weapons in Europe and the Asia-Pacific region. The board of Tesla has granted its CEO Elon Musk $29 billion worth of new shares in an effort to keep him at the helm of the US electric car maker. A statement said it was imperative to retain extraordinary talent. Michelle Fleury is in New York.
Tesla is once again betting big on Elon Musk, approving the massive new pay package just months after a US court tossed out his previous $50 billion deal, calling it unfair to shareholders. Mr. Musk has been fighting the decision. Now Tesla says the new award is meant to keep him at the company, especially as competition heats up in the race for top AI talent. The move comes as shares in the electric car maker have been under pressure, down about 20% this year, with falling car sales and growing concerns about Mr. Musk's political views.
You're listening to the latest world news from the BBC. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he will update his military plan for Gaza later this week. Amid reports, he wants to expand the offensive against Hamas and occupy the entire territory. There's been no official confirmation of the reports, and the BBC's Middle East correspondent says it could be a strategy to pressurise Hamas into making a deal. Brazil's Supreme Court has issued a house arrest order for the former President Jair Bolsonaro after he was accused of breaking a ban on social media use. The decision comes a day after protests in support of the former right-wing president, who's standing trial for allegedly plotting a coup, were held across Brazil. Libya's National Oil Corporation says it has signed a preliminary deal with ExxonMobil that would see the US energy giant resume operations in the North African country after a decade-long hiatus. The agreement focuses on exploring offshore oil and gas reserves off the country's northwest coast and in the Sirte Basin. ExxonMobil suspended operations in 2013. Stella Remington, the first woman to head Britain's domestic intelligence service, has died at the age of 90. She ran MI5 from 1992 to 1996. She led the security service during a period of increased transparency for the organisation. Frank Gardner says her appointment was groundbreaking.
She had cut her teeth in the early years of counter-terrorism, counter-espionage, counter-subversion. She earned every bit of her promotion. She joined MI5 in 1969. She worked her way up to become first a director and then eventually director general. When she got the top job, MI5 kept a lot of stuff secret from MI6. They didn't share stuff with the police. It is so different from how it is today, where they all three work very closely together.
BBC News.
The views and opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of Stingray Media, its staff, or contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
And welcome back, K-Man, to more Straight Talk here on Bobo 103.1 FM at 7 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock as we move into our final segment, having a really enjoyable, but I dare say also educational conversation with our guest, Samantha Widmer from K-Man Finance, learning about the organization, its goals, its ambitions, its objectives, but also sharing with our listening audience, for those of you who perhaps never really appreciated, well, why financial services and why does it matter for the Cayman Islands and why must we have so many banks and law firms and, you know, trust companies and the list goes on. Well, we are discovering that why here today with our guest in studios. And I will just say the phone lines are open now on the final segment. The number is 745-2626. If you're listening for the last hour and a bit and have a comment for our guest, maybe have a question on the role of Cayman Finance or Cayman's growing financial services industry, we would love to hear from you. If talking isn't your thing, you could reach out to us on our WhatsApp line, that number 928-2562. And from there, you can either share a traditional WhatsApp text message or you can get creative and send us a WhatsApp audio note. At 8 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock, going until 6:30. You know, we talked about threats in the last segment. We talked about AI potentially replacing human talent. You don't believe that's on the horizon. Quite to the contrary, you believe AI will complement some of the services we're already doing. We talked about our concern over beneficial ownership and some of the changes. Again, you also believe the industry isn't as fearful of that as perhaps it may have been in the beginning. And that speaks to, I think, both the work from the private sector as well on the government side of what we've done to communicate who the Cayman Islands are to the rest of the world. So that is encouraging. But let's talk about the, getting in the financial services, I wouldn't call it game, but sector. Obviously, it's been exceedingly profitable, successful for the Cayman Islands for the better part of 50 years. But as I said before, we're not the only pretty girl on the block. The Cayman Islands' success has certainly captured the attention of the rest of the world. I think of things like the City of London, going back a few moons ago, wanting to establish themselves as an offshore financial center, albeit onshore. I think of Guernsey, who's set to set up its latest offshore financial bank or company. I won't say bank, but a new company in 2026. That also, starting to grow on that home soil. Are we concerned at all by the rising number of, let's call it competition, that exists out there for Cayman Islands? It's not just all roses and rainbows, is it?
It's definitely not, and there is a lot of competition out there. So it is important that we stay abreast on what those changes are to the global landscape when it comes to a financial services location like the Cayman Islands. What I will say is there's a few things. So the first part is we need to think about not working against each other, but how we work together. I think that the Cayman Islands has a place in the funds industry, and I'm going to speak about it from a funds perspective. The Cayman Islands has always been known as a global fund hub, and we look from an institutional player standpoint, we are the chosen investment funds hub in that sense from a gold standard level. But there are going to be other locations where money needs to be pooled, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. We need to work collectively with these other locations where maybe that money is pooled and then it's invested into a Cayman Islands fund. So they might use different types of structures in order to make sure that they can maintain the fund structure of what they're looking for. I think another part of it too is there's going to be change in talent. And so, we have to make sure that in Cayman, we're continuing to attract that top tier talent because that's what's required in order to sustain a solid financial services industry. And how do we keep doing that? We make sure that there's opportunities to work at that high level. We make sure that we are allowing for talent to come in, but also that we are providing training opportunities to our Caymanians as well so that everybody is working collectively together. I think as well, we need to continue to look at how we're innovating across the next 5 or 10 years with technology and AI, as I mentioned earlier, is going to be really important. What our regulator, our government has on the plan for that and where we see that, where the funding is for that as well and how they might look at spending their resources on developing that. There are other locations that are trying to compete against Cayman and I think that's okay. I think we can all work in the same world, but we have to make sure that we're not losing what we already have at minimum, because that generates so much income for the island and many opportunities for our people, and also makes Cayman a beautiful place to live because we do have those investments happening here.
Yeah, and I think it's very pleasing to hear at least what I'm understanding, and you can, elaborate on it, that good relationship that you have between private sector and government in this particular case, Cayman Finance and the entire Ministry of Financial Services. Speak to that a little bit more.
Well, I have to say, now I'm sitting on a different side. I used to work in private sector, and now I'm sitting kind of in the middle. And you really see how much hard work goes into doing this job from a government perspective and also from the regulator's perspective. It's really difficult. Imagine you had to take on 30,700 funds and regulate them and do all the hard work that's necessary. And we're doing this on a small island like the Cayman Islands with less than 85,000 people. I mean, it's an incredible number. We have more than double of all the other jurisdictions combined when it comes to investment.
That is amazing.
And if you see that all of the investments that each jurisdiction is making, the Cayman Islands is at that level making the investment that's necessary in order to keep up with that level of investment funds. So we have to see that, there's a lot of hardworking individuals in this space. We also see the government working very hard. And I think, seeing that now Premier Ebanks is in his role, and he's also the Minister of Financial Services, we're seeing a lot of positivity around the development of the industry and continued success. And I think I mentioned to you earlier, we're not trying to work against another sector. Things like financial services in terms of we work together. And I think, and maybe you can highlight a little bit more on your experience in working in that sector as well. I think we need to work together because when one is growing and benefiting, we can help the other. So if we say have financial services conferences here, that's a tourist.
Correct.
And if we have tourists coming here who are looking at making investments or saying, yeah, Cayman's a safe place, that's actually where I want to have my investment fund, or potentially want to create opportunities for my business, then I think we need to make sure that we're all working together in the same collective.
No, you see, I could have said that, but you said it much better. But, you know, it is really